Being in a state of congruent agency is the holy grail of the human experience. Now, what does it mean to be in a state of congruent agency? Humans are desire-seeking organisms. Everything we do is geared towards satisfying some desires. Now, within this context, we need agency. We need to be in control of our own actions. We need to think about what we want to do. We need to be able to set off that chain of events and do something to create our desires. Now, there's basically four kind of different levels of agency, of congruent agency or not congruent agency. The lowest level, the worst level to be in, the worst stuck state to be in is when you have no agency. And you're stuck in a horrible situation where you do things because if you don't do those things, something bad will happen. That is the worst state to be in as a human. This is what causes most stress-related health problems: heart disease, hypertension, metabolic syndrome. The next state is what humans are mostly in. We have some kind of agency, and we're somewhat pursuing our desires, but our agency is kind of conflicted. It's incongruent. We're doing things to move toward a desire, but we have kind of inner conflicts, inner battles, inner worries, inner stresses, inner anxieties. We're still doing things to get towards our desires, but we don't feel like we're living our purpose, so to speak. The next stage is congruent agency. When you know you're moving towards something that you know you'll enjoy, and you feel 100% congruent on the path to your inevitable success. You still need to do the daily grind. You still need to do the mechanical things to get what you want, but you know you're going to be successful, and you feel good because you know you're on your purpose. There's zero doubt in your mind that you will achieve your success. The final state is very, very rare, and this is in the category of flow states with high levels of athletic performance or high levels of musical performance. This is usually reserved to elite level athletes and musicians, and this is, most people will never really experience this, only in maybe brief flashes throughout their lives. But for most normal humans, the holy grail of the human experience is to be in a congruent agency state towards the satisfying of one of your desires. Now, if you can elicit this state in somebody else, you can be incredibly persuasive. Because when somebody feels congruent in their agency, they will see the whole world through, I can accomplish this, I can do this, I can achieve this, and they will be in the best decision state possible. The reason almost all sales don't go through, the reason most salespeople only get a 5 or 10% success rate or a 90-95% failure rate is because their customers are always in an incongruent agency state. They have agency. They're talking to the salesperson. They're doing something to hopefully achieve their desires, but they're incongruent in that agency state. There's kind of inner conflicts. This is why they have objections at the end of the sales conversation. Part of them wants to buy the car, part of them doesn't. Part of them wants to buy the house, part of them doesn't. Part of them wants to join the program, but part of them doesn't. And the reason most sales fails is because the salesperson doesn't recognize the difference between incongruent agency and congruent agency. So as a persuader, as somebody who maybe wants to sell things to people and make a lot of money by making people extremely happy from buying from you, if you target their congruent agency states and build that up into the elicitation of the desire state, this will help you sell anything to anybody and have them feel fantastic because they bought it from you. So how do you do this? Well, you start off by recognizing and validating that the whole reason you're talking to the customer is because of something they did, because of something they decided to do, because of a decision they made. And look inside that decision and find the smallest sliver of congruent agency you can, and then just extrapolate that into the future. Start off with whatever decision they made, whatever reason they have for talking to you. Validate that. Ask them how they make those decisions. And then from that, build by asking them about how they made previous decisions. Because when we remember our successful decisions, when you remember your successful decisions, you will remember those decisions as having much more congruence than they might have had at the time. Because when we do things, we're generally worried about how they'll come out. But once they become successful, to better extrapolate a successful future, we've been programmed with an instinct by evolution that allows us to rewrite our memories. So we remember decisions as being much more congruent than they actually were at the time. So all you have to do is start the conversation by recognizing that they made some type of congruent agency-based decision to talk to you. Recognize that, validate that, ask them about that, and then ask them about other decisions that they made, and they will remember those as being much more congruent than they were, and they will put them in a much more congruent state of mind. And then through that congruent state of mind, that congruent agency state of mind, then you can start talking to them about what they want and extrapolate that into the future. If you're very careful when you do this, if you're very delicate when you do this, and you don't use any kind of outside-in ego-based sales energy, and you put yourself in kind of a subordinate position where you're trying to help them make the best decision possible, this is an incredibly easy way to sell things to people. This is an incredibly easy way to close people without really needing to close them. Because once you target the smallest sliver of congruent agency in their past, and extrapolate that into the future, they will see the future as the most magnificent thing in the world, and they will truly feel on their purpose. And you will make a connection subconsciously, or rather, the connection will simply happen on its own, unconsciously, in their brain between their feeling of purpose, the holy grail of human experience, and the product or service that you're selling. Poof, and you can make a lot of money doing this. I used to work with this guy that sold cars who did this accidentally. I'm pretty sure he did this accidentally because he never could really teach other people how to do this. But he would only ask questions to customers when they came onto the car lot. He would only ask questions about why they did the things they did. That's pretty much the only type of questions that he would ask. He would never sell them anything. He would never pitch features and benefits. He would never try any kind of sleazy closing techniques or any kind of psychological tricks. He would only ask questions about past decisions. He would ask questions about why they made past decisions. But because he was so relaxed and low-key, they didn't sense that he had any kind of ulterior motive, because he didn't. They would come onto the lot and he would say something like, "Thanks for coming in, but let me ask you, why did you come to the car lot today? It's a nice day, it's Saturday, it's sunny, you could have done a lot of things. Why did you decide to come here?" And he would be so congruent in his question, they would answer him. They would look at a certain car and he would say, "Why are you looking at this car and not all these other cars?" And he was so congruent, they would answer him. And he would just keep asking these questions. "You just did that thing. Why did you do that thing instead of all the other things?" And they would answer him because he didn't have any ulterior motives or any kind of incongruent energy. And he would always lead them to make a sale. They would always buy cars from him, and they would always pay sticker price. They would never ever haggle because they felt congruent in their decision. And if you can do this, if you can elicit a congruent agency state in the people you talk to, you can persuade them to do anything. If you'd like to learn how, check out the links below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.